Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I've got the oven here and it's done on its side, and what we're doing is we're getting ready to do some feet. So what I've done is I've got a piece of stock that I had out of my pile, cleaned it up already, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the bases out of this tube. Now it's the same size tube, but it's actually a 100 wall, so it's a lot thicker. But that's okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna mark that and get it ready to do the bottom, and I'll show you how I do that. I'm gonna go over and grab some material and show you what the material is that I'm gonna use. Okay, so I grabbed the material. So if you watched one of my videos, these are the casters I made for the oven for in the shop. And these are the actual feet that I make. Okay, so what I do is I drill a hole through that, of course, and just weld it on. And then this is the actual foot, and it sits like that. Okay, and they're adjustable, of course, right? So this will be welded into the bottom of that oven, and it works just perfectly. Now, this, of course, would sit like that, okay? And they work great. I do put a little bit of anti-seize on that just to make sure that they move around nice and easy. But unfortunately, I don't have any more of these in stock. I only have the one. So we won't be able to actually make the bottom, but that's okay. I'll get this done, and then I will put the casters on for now. When we use the oven in a stationary position, we use these. Usually in the shop, I have it on the casters and I roll it around. But that should work out great. So we'll get started with the bottom base of that of the wheel and or of the adjustable feet, and go from there. Okay, guys. So I got it all set up. I got my square. That's the kind of the idea. So what we want to do here is measure out 2 inches, and then we'll throw a square line across. 2 inches. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to find dead center. So what we're going to do is just go off to the corner, mark, and we'll do that on all 4 sides. There we go. And I'll explain to you why I'm doing that first. Because what I most likely will, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to drill it, pre-drill it, and then cut it. Just easier to cut, it's just easier to pre-drill that way. There we go. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll pre-drill that. So I can't seem to find my punch, but this will work. That should do it. Come on now. Get a step bit in there. Slow that bit down a bit. This one's smaller one first and I'll bring it into the bigger one. Proved to be a bit of a challenge. Anyway, we got it done. Now it's going to go through there, and that's going to weld right on there, guys. Okay, so now what we'll do is we're going to cut these right down the middle, or on the bend, like so. We'll get a blade out and we'll cut them up. Then we'll clean up the other side just to make sure that they're okay, and then we're good. Okay guys, I got my safety glasses on. Let's give this a cut. We're looking pretty good. Well, you can see that. Okay, so now we'll cut it. All right. So we got those all cut up. A little warm. Get rid of this. Just like that. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to get the welder started. And the game plan here is to get these to just clamp on there. This way I've got a good welding surface. And they're not going to walk on me. just like that, and we'll tack them in. Okay, get the welder ready to rock and roll. Just because you hold them I'll put this in, not all the way. Make sure it comes through, and I'll hold the nut in the place where I want it to be. Okay, so it adds pressure to the nut. It just makes it easier to weld, and then I'll just unscrew it. What up? Okay guys, so I got them sitting in place. They're sitting pretty good. And then my little magnets on there. And we'll get the ground onto that oven. We'll put it at the bottom here for now. And then we'll move it around. And we'll do the other side. Now I'm going to give them a nice beefy weld to try to keep them nice and strong. Alright, those magnets out of the way for now. Looks good. Let that pull off for a bit, guys, and then we'll grind those down. We'll flip them around. Nice beefy weld. She looks good. So they're welded in. What I'll do is I'll clean those up now before I flip them over. Grind them up. Yeah, looking good. Looking good, guys. Alright, so what we're going to do is flip her up, and we'll take care of the other side. Just unplug that for a second. Just take that off. And we'll get the other side ready to rock and roll. So let's get those feet back in place. With the magnets, of course. Go. Let's get that other one in there. Okay, we're good. All right. So let's get my welding hat back on. Let's get that welded on. That cool off, guys, and we'll grind those down. Grind that one down at the bottom, and we should be good. I got it all cleaned up. So the game plan here is just throw some high heat paint from the rattle can on the ends of these, because that always seems to be the place that gets missed when I'm painting. And then we'll throw some anti-seize inside there, just to make sure. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be, I don't want it to be bare metal, that's it. we go. And we'll let that dry for a second, and then I'll hit the other side. Stuff dries pretty quick. And then actually, while that's there, I'll put some anti-seize on that. Alright, let's flip it around. We'll touch up the other end. And we'll get onto the rails. And I'll put the casters on and show you guys what the casters look like. Perfect. Just back it. I think you guys still can see that. Oh yeah. Alright, let that dry, and then we'll put the casters in. I'll show you what that's all about. Of course, we'll have to put a little bit of anti-seize in there too. There we go. Looking good, guys. So I've got my casters. Let's get them on there. And we'll adjust them to what height we need. Lock position. Lock position so they don't turn on me. All right. There we go, guys. Casters are on. And she's pretty level. So we'll move it around. We'll still be able to work on it. I got it marked. Depending on where I got it, it's always going to be very different. There we go. We're able to adjust, do what we got to do. Okay guys, so she's up on her casters. She's looking pretty good. As you can tell, I've gone ahead and marked that's the front of the oven. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get a game plan exactly where the heat coils are going to go and the controller is going to go. Now, usually for me, I always get the controller to go on the right side of the oven. You know, there's no law against putting it on the left side. I just have a tendency to always put things on the right side when it comes to controllers. The coils are going to be mounted in the back. Just easier access, easier to take a look at, make sure that they're heating up properly. You know what, you can mount them on the sides if you like, that's really up to you. I personally like them in the back. I have better luck with them in the back, and that's where I'm going to put them. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-drill some holes for wiring, and then we're going to measure up the coil and see where the height is, and then we're going to put a brace back there for the coil to mount against. So let me put this camera back on a stand, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so what we're going to do is the coils are going to mount on this back side. So what I got to do is measure kind of where I'm going to put my slots for the wiring. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them out. So I'm going to try to keep them consistent in between the drill, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Let's see if I can get this thing to go through. So we'll drill a hole right here. There you go, guys. Gone ahead and drilled all the holes. That's to allow the wiring to go through. Back side, underneath. There we go. And now what we'll do is I'll get the death wheel and I will cut the spaces out in between, giving that enough channel to go through. And just easy to run the wiring without pulling. And then I did one on the very top here. And of course that's going to be just, we don't need a lot. We need it just for the thermocoupler and the light. So, and of course that's for the control panel that's going to come up in about here. Okay, so let me cut those out with the death wheel and I'll show you what they look like. So guys, there's the slots. They're all cleaned up, and that'll allow us to run the wiring from the coils or the burners down at the bottom, down the side. And we come on top here, and I've got one right up there, and that's of course is going to be for the thermocoupler and the light. There it is. Sorry, I'm all over the map here today. But what I've gone ahead and did off camera is marked a couple of spots on the outside walls. So what these spots are going to be for are for back braces, okay? So I did one there and one there. So this one here coming from the top is a foot. This one here from here to here, actually move back further a little bit. So the first line, it's kind of faint, but you still can see it, is a foot. And you can come down, and then the second line is 3 feet. And I did that on both sides. And what we want to do here is put our angle iron in that section flat up against the actual wall itself. So when I put the back plate on or the inner liner on, I've got something to mount my lip or my angle iron for the shelving. Okay, it'll give it a little extra strength, and it also keeps the inner wall from fluxing. So what we'll do is we'll end up tacking the inner wall to those, okay? We'll do that on the opposite side. Now the opposite side here, where the control panel is going to be, we have to carve out a section for the wiring because we don't want the wiring up against the inner wall. We want it on the outside of the wall. So we have to make sure we have enough space to run the wiring to the actual control panel. Also on this side, once we have those in place, then we have to measure out where we're actually going to put the control panel and also do some bars or some angle iron in order to mount the control panel. So let me get some measurements done. Let me get this camera on a stand and we'll get right to it. Okay guys, so the measurements in between there were 22. So what we'll do is we'll mark 22 and we'll cut them with the bandsaw. And if we have to file them a bit to get them in, you know, sometimes there's a little bit of warpage, but I don't think it's gonna have any issues. We'll mark them and we'll cut them. We'll see how it goes. And then we'll go from there. So let's cut one and see how we work out here. I'm gonna need something to hold this side up a bit. Let's see if I can use one of these boxes. That works. All right, so we're right on 22. Tighten that up a bit. I want to leave the line. Okay, so we're gonna need a few. Let me just double check and see the fit. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's cut a couple of them. And we'll leave the line, and we should be good. Well, we're gonna need 4 of them at 22. Good. Move this back for a second. Let's clean up some of these ends. So guys, I got the cross beams in. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll tack them, weld them up. We'll do a weld on the front here and tack in the back, and that should be good. And then of course we'll clean up the weld. So basically what'll happen is I'll have one shelf here, one shelf, move the camera down there. Okay, so that's gonna give us options. So we can have multiple small parts hanging from the racks, okay? Do you have to have both racks in? Absolutely not. You can use the one rack on the top, hang your parts, and you're good. Now, you see that I got a cross beam up here. Now that is also there for a reason. So what will end up happening is I'll drill a hole through the middle and we'll have a hook. And that hook will hang larger parts. So let's get that welded and then we'll get to the other side. Okay guys, so I've got the welder all set up. And we'll get those welded in. And then we'll put the other ones in. I don't want to put the other ones in just yet. I'd rather weld these first and get them tacked in anyway before fooling around with the other ones. Move that welder a little closer. Awesome. Okay, we got those tacked in nicely. So what we'll do is let me put a tack on the back side just to make sure they don't twist. There we go. Can't see that. There we go. Okay, so we'll let that sit for a bit and we'll get the other ones placed inside and then we'll weld them all up. I'll move that camera over so you can see me tapping these ones. Now these ones are going to be a little different. So let me take this welding hat off because we're going to figure out exactly how we're going to put that slot in for the cables to run. So what's going to end up happening is we're going to end up having the control panel right here. So this is actually going to be, this bar will be fine. This is the bar that I'm going to be worried about, is this one here. So we'll have to carve out a section so that the wiring can run and it doesn't push it out too far, okay? Now, I know that this is 2 inches and my angle iron is 1.5 inches. It's still going to be touching the outside wall, so it's going to get warm. So we want to make sure we carve enough away that I can get the insulation in between the wiring and the actual bar. Up here, not too worried. We'll get that one in, and then we'll design a section here for the actual controller, and we'll do that. Okay, so we're going to mark this. We're going to find out where I had re-drilled the hole, and we'll mark it, just so it gives us an idea of where the slot has to be cut out. And we'll run a square in there. You can see that? Okay, so when that goes here, we'll have the wire be able to run through. So I'll get this cut out, and then we'll get that put in. Get my safety glasses, which I don't know where I put them. I got another pair. There she goes. So now when I put this piece in, the wire will have lots of room to move around. So let's take a look. Let's move this back up to that spot. We don't got no sharp edges, which is good. So this is important that you guys get this lined up properly, or it's important to me anyway, that it's lined up properly. You know, the more square I can get this thing to be, the better it will be at the end of the build. Okay, guys, so I got her all lined up. She's bang on. Well, maybe. Yeah, she's bang on. So let's get this tacked in. The slot's in there, which is perfect. It lines up beautifully. We're good. Okay, let's get that tacked in there. Let me get my welding hat on. And we'll tack those in. Let me see if that camera is at a good angle for you guys. I think it is. Actually, well, let's try to move it up just a bit. There we go. All right, let's tack that in. There we go. Okay, so she's tacked in. She's not going to go anywhere. Okay, so let's move this out of the way for a second. We'll move these out. They're looking good, guys. Okay. So since we're on this side, we're going to go ahead and get out the control panel. and measure out the control panel. So we can get the control panel to sit pretty well right here. Now, I've got a 1/2 inch or so here, which I'm going to be okay to run that wire through over top, and we should be okay. If worse comes to worse, I can always grind out a little bit, but I think it's going to be just fine. Because we're only using like 12 gauge. Maybe 20 gauge. We'll take a look and see for the control, for the actual light. We don't need anything too heavy duty for the light. But let's measure out the control panel. So, and then we'll figure out where the bars are got to go. What I'll end up doing is cutting the actual bars for that, and then I'm going to cut some extra because we're going to need some for the bottom. So let me get the control panel out. I'll get you in closer so you guys can see what I got. This is the one that I previously built, knowing that I'm going to be doing the oven. Okay, so control panel's here. I'll bring you guys in closer. All right, so control panel's there. So our mounting brackets, we've got 4 holes here for mounting. Going to use those. They're about 7. I'm going to say 6 3/4. No, they're 7 inches. Okay, so that means we got to do 2 cross beams at 7 inches to mount that. I'll move that out of the way. We'll cut up a couple pieces and we'll see how we can get those to line up properly. Let me just move the controller out of the way. I don't want to damage it. Well, hopefully you guys watched that video. So let's grab another angle iron. So let's mark 22. I don't know if you guys saw the video on this stand. Well worth it. You know, it's an inexpensive bandsaw. Works great. I got DeWalt blades on it. You know, occasionally the blade comes off, but other than that, she works really well. You know. The stand was like what? 95 or 100 bucks? Makes life so much easier. Lightweight, easy to put away. That's awesome. All right, so we got them all cut. They should fit perfect. And they do, beautifully. Okay, so let's clean them up a little on the ends. Okay, so we got them all cleaned up, all the ends anyway. Okay, so we got to remember that the mounting is about 7 inches, right? So this is pretty well where I want it to be. So what I'm thinking is I might have to cut that. Okay, so I'm going to make a mark here. Control panel, yeah, right about there is fine. And then we got to mark 7 inches. In Italian, we say più o meno, more or less, 7 inches. There we go. Okay, so 7 inches, I'm going to get T-square. I'm going to work off of that. Always work off the face of this thing. Seven inches. So we want that 7 inches dead center. Okay, so that's kind of where she's got to be. Now, that's going to be where the controller is going to screw into. So that means the bar has got to be up about 1 inch and a bit from that line. So what we're going to do is we got 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. Excuse me. So what we'll do is move it up. So if I do 1.5 inches, let me just see something here. And 1/2 inch of play. So we got to move that up about 1/2 inch. Half inch. Half inch. So half inch. So that should work out pretty good. What I'll do is I'll get the first one tacked in. That weld's going to be in the way. I will grind that weld out. But that should work out okay. Okay, let's see. Let's see what this actually pans out to be. Yeah. That's going to work out okay. So I'm going to have to cut it. Or do I flip it? Wow, that's like perfect fit. Or do I put this one? I think that's what I'm going to do. Perfect. Okay, so we have to cut a piece out of this because I don't think I'm going to have enough room to run that cable through that. So I'm going to cut a piece out, and that should work out pretty good. And then what I'll do is I'll double check to make sure that everything is where it should be. This has got to come up a bit, but we'll be okay. Okay, let me cut this. Give me a second, guys. Okay, so I cut that channel out a little bit. I'm just going to smoothen it out a bit. 1 second. All right, so that's going to work out perfect, I'm hoping. Okay. And we're going to have to cut that one. All right. We'll cut that one. Put my safety glasses on for this one. Gonna need a stool. That should be able to snap right out. All right, let's see. Okay. Let's clean that up a little. You got easier access now to clean it. All right. We should be good. Better than good. Better than good. All right. Let me tap this in. So the game plan, the control panel should be right about here. That's got about a 1/2 inch lip. So I'm going to go to the first line that we did. And that should allow the wire to run through. And then we want 7 inches. Not flush. 7 inches. So let me just mark 7 inches. I want it center. So 7 inches should be dead center. I'm going to do dead center here. Yeah, we're pretty well where we were. And we want that to be dead center. So if we're going to want that to be dead center, and I'm going to want wiring to come through, so I'm going to have to cut another slot and another one, right? So if that's there, more or less, bottom is here. Okay, so let's square that off, and we'll move it around a bit. I'm okay with that. But if I'm doing that, I just want to make, you got to always, guys, measure twice. That's 7 inches right in the center of that. That's perfect. And that's 7 inches center of that. Okay. Let's make another mark. That means we have to cut this guy again to allow that wiring to go into that panel, which is fine. So I'm just going to mark this again. And keep it consistent. Right? No, I did that backwards. I want it this way. All right. Let's cut this. All right. We should be in business. And we are. Right there. Enough room for wiring to go through. We're good. Okay, let's get the magnets on this one. We'll tack this one. This one should be almost okay. We're good. All right, let me just double check before I start tacking stuff in. Oh yeah, perfect, guys, just absolutely perfect. Okay, so let's weld that in. Let's tack it in. Wait, almost. That's got to go up. Okay, we're good. All right, let's tack that in, guys. All right, that's tacked in. She should be good for now. Then we'll do continuous weld, which is looking pretty good, guys. So now we got control panel done. We've got the capability to run that wire through there, which is good. We got wire coming through there, which is good. That's awesome. Okay, so now we got to figure out the coils and the distance of the coils. So let's get that all figured out. Okay guys, so here's my burner setup. And you saw the mounts that I had made on one of my other videos. So what we want to find out is the distance from here to the bottom of this burner, or bottom of this mount, okay? And this way we can actually put a brace in the back of that oven. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be close, okay? So from the center of that to that is about 16 inches or so. I'm gonna say 16 inches. Now, what I want to do is I want this to be sitting off the bottom of the oven about 2 inches. So that means we're gonna be putting those at 18 inches, okay? And then we can move them around a little because we've got a little bit of play in here. We can move back and forth. But 18 inches is a sweet spot. So let's go and mark 18 inches and I'll show you where I want to put it. So this is the back of the oven. Of course, we've got the drill outs. So we're gonna go from the bottom of this up to about 18 inches and then we're gonna put a cross all the way across that. And that's gonna give us a good mounting spot for those burners so they don't twist, okay? Because 16 gauge, once it heats, it'll want to buckle and it'll want to bow. So we want to make sure that stays pretty flush, okay? So let's measure up that back piece, and it should be 44 inches, and then we'll get that ready to rock and roll. Okay, guys. So off camera, I went ahead and cut a bunch of 44s. So I cut a total of 5 44s and 4 of the 22s. This one, I'll show you, I cut some slots out of it. Let's grab it and I'll show you where it's gonna go. Okay, so this one's gonna go right here. If I nip it back in there, just like so. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I putting that there? That is gonna go on after the base is put in. Okay, so my 16 gauge. And that's gonna sandwich it, or compress it together. And then we'll have a nice sturdy base to put the back panel on. There will be one on the top and some going down on the sides in order to make that happen. And the other 22s, of course, will go here, there, and so forth. And we'll have to cut a slot out of that one there too. But she's looking pretty good. So let's get the cross beams in for the back, for the burners and the other sections, and then we'll take it from there. Okay guys, so I've got the other braces cut out with the slots in them. Okay, that one's for the top. I got the slot cut out for there. You guys can see that there. Okay, same for there, and same for there. Also gone ahead and put a couple of pieces here. We're gonna weld those in right now. I did 2 for now. I think 2 is gonna be substantial for the hinges. The hinges will mount on that just to give me a little bit extra girth. And when I do the sheeting, I have something to mount to. So we'll weld those up, and then we'll finish doing some grinding and see where we're at. So we've got all the braces completed, all the channels cut out for the wiring. You can see that. We cut all the interlocking angle iron that we'll use when we do the sheeting. We installed braces for our hinges just to strengthen out those corners. We installed the brace for the heat elements, and that's pretty well all she wrote for today, guys. So I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm gonna call it. The next step is the sheeting. We'll do all the sheeting on the inside, and that'll be all 16 gauge. But she's all grinded down, cleaned up, and ready to rock and roll. Let me walk back here and get a better view of it. Looking pretty good. Guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Next one will be coming up soon. Please like and subscribe. It helps me out tremendously. Thanks again.